So in this video, I wanted to cover Elon Musk, and I'm going to go over Miles Mathis's paper on Elon Musk, because I've been seeing Tesla all over the headlines in the past year or so, and this is going to be a disaster. And I'm sure SpaceX is going to get it too, but Miles Mathis has a great article titled, "I Don't Believe in Elon Musk." And let's go through and see what he has to say about him. As usual, this is an opinion piece protected by the US Constitution. It is my personal reading of the published factoids. If you prefer the mainstream reading, you can have it. Elon Musk is supposed to be worth $13.6 billion. He is supposed to be the CEO of Tesla Motors. He is supposed to be the founder of SpaceX. He is supposed to be the founder of Solar City. He is supposed to be the inventor of Hyperloop. I, for one, don't believe any of it. Elon Musk looks to me like a person totally manufactured by intelligence as the fake human front for all these fake projects. In this way, he is exactly like Mark Zuckerberg, another person I have outed as a probable manufactured entity. When I wrote that paper on Zuckerberg, he was also alleged to be worth $13.6 billion. Coincidence? Nope. Why do I think that? I think it is because Musk's entire Wikipedia page and bio reads like a red flag. It is nothing but transparent BS from top to bottom. We'll start with his family. His mother's maiden name is Haldeman. That is a prominent Jewish name. Elon is also a Jewish name, meaning oak in Hebrew. Kimball, Elon's brother, also has a Jewish name. So why not just admit they are Jewish? I don't know. Maybe they plan on running him for governor of California or something. Although we will cover the other red flags, I want to skip ahead to the end, to lead with later red flags that demand our early attention. I want to lead with them although they come later on the Wikipedia page. Musk has claimed he is a big fan of Margaret Thatcher. What? Only fascists and plants are fans of Margaret Thatcher. No real person of any intelligence and scruple is a fan of Margaret Thatcher. Musk is sold as a progressive, but no progressive would claim to be a fan of Thatcher. It doesn't fit his profile at all, and we can only imagine it was worked into his bio as either a clue for people like me or as part of some late promotion of Thatcher and fascism in general. Actually, I assume it is mainly another plug for privatization. Musk's entire bio is a long plug for privatization. Along with deregulation, privatization is one of the two main planks of neo-fascism. Musk has said he is socially liberal and fiscally conservative. Was Thatcher socially liberal? Not according to Section 28, which made promotion of homosexuality illegal, and which stopped just short of making homosexuality itself illegal again, as in the time of Oscar Wilde. I should think this would be of some concern to Musk, since I don't really buy either one of his marriages. But he doesn't have to be concerned with that, does he? Since he lives in the US in 2015, not in the UK in 1980. In the US, in 2015, homosexuality is being promoted like never before. This article was written in 2015, that's why he's mentioning it here. So why don't I buy his marriages? Well, in answer to that, I send you to pictures of Musk with his wives and girlfriends. Just Google something like Musk with Riley. While any normal heterosexual guy would be getting all the sugar he could from these sweeties, glowing in the perfume, Musk always looks highly uncomfortable. The girls are often leaning away from him as there, and look at his hand in his pocket. Discomfort signs all over the place. Or you can read this 2010 article at Marie Claire written by his alleged first wife Justine. You may find it convincing, but I don't. Just look at the lead photo for the article. I draw your attention to the 3 tricycles and 2 bikes. This is to remind us that Musk is supposed to have 5 sons by this woman. Not only do we get no photos of the children, which is perhaps understandable, she doesn't mention them once in the article, either by name or in any other way. Mostly, she just repeats the story of Musk's rise to fame and fortune, with the occasional plug of her own. Very strange. I would have to say it is the most impersonal article of its kind I have ever read. No, beyond impersonal, it is just chilly. Almost chilling. It reads like it was put together by a committee, and it may have been. I say that because if we do a people search on Elon Musk, we find no evidence of these children in the computers. In fact, Intellius doesn't even have an Elon Musk listed in California. Only his father, Errol Musk. Instant Checkmate lists an Elon Musk related to Justine. But the only other relation is a Jennifer. Since Justine's middle initial is J, I assume Jennifer is also her. If these 5 boys have birth certificates, they should be in the computers. They aren't. Then we have to read this. Musk is a self-described American exceptionalist and nationalist, describing himself as nauseatingly pro-American. According to Musk, the United States is inarguably the greatest country that has ever existed on Earth, describing it as the greatest force for good of any country that's ever been. Musk believes outright that there would not be democracy in the world if not for the United States. Nauseating, yes. Believable, no. Again, no real person of any intelligence would be caught saying that in the second decade of the 21st century. Even the American Nazi Party is more circumspect than that. Musk has obviously been hired to read these lines provided him by the Pentagon or someplace. Now that I think of it, this reads like copy provided Musk by Henry Kissinger or the CFR. But even in that context, it is over the top. When I read quotes like this, I have to imagine that clues have been inserted into Musk's bio on purpose by someone. I begin to think this is all part of some game, a nationwide contest to see if anyone can see through this. If so, send me the prize. Although I may be the first to propose Musk as an Intel creation, I am not the only one who has noticed that he appears to be reading from neocon or fascist cue cards. Policy Mike and many other sites have criticized Musk harshly for contributing to anti-science Republican candidates and groups like the Longhorn PAC and NRCC, confirming my analysis above by saying that these political calculations betray Musk's persona of a socially conscious entrepreneur. His many interviews also betray or disprove his created persona of a person with very high intelligence and skills. Although he is sold as some sort of Tony Stark, he comes off as Ron Howard with a bit more hair and a foreign accent. I don't see any spark there, and in my opinion he looks like just another hired actor. Unfortunately, he's not even a good actor, and if he hadn't been born into a rich family, he would have to work as a crisis actor like Robbie Parker. Actually, it's a toupee, as we can tell by the picture under my title. Musk is 24 there, and his hair is very thin in the front, so we may assume this new look is augmented in some way. In that more recent photo, he obviously has on a rug. It doesn't really matter, of course, and I wouldn't mention it except for the fact that I am showing Musk is a fake in all ways. Although Musk's companies have received $5 billion in government subsidies, Musk says he isn't in favor of government subsidies for companies like his. Instead, he has come out in favor of a carbon tax. Obviously, he is just reading from the teleprompter again there and isn't concerned with appearing to be consistent. Fake people fronting fake companies don't have to worry about appearing consistent. It is all about stirring your mind into musk. I mean, mush. The people behind Musk want all the subsidies they can drink, but then they want to pretend they don't lust for them like they do. They also don't want you to apply for any subsidies because they don't need the competition. They don't want you to be subsidized. They want you to be taxed. So why do I think these companies are fake? We'll start with Musk's link to Mike Griffin. Griffin was head of NASA from 2005 to 2009, but on Musk's page we learn that Griffin also worked for In-Q-Tel, the venture capital arm of the CIA. That is probably the biggest red flag on the entire page. Curiously, that information has been scrubbed off Griffin's own page. What exactly is In-Q-Tel? In-Q-Tel invests in high-tech companies for the sole purpose of keeping the Central Intelligence Agency and other intelligence agencies equipped with the latest information technology in support of the United States intelligence capability. That is the key to unlocking this whole mystery, so I suggest you read it several times. to let it sink in. I suggest not only did In-Q-Tel invest in all of Musk's companies, it actually created them and him. We know the CIA creates many front companies since the mainstream admits it, but it is usually assumed they do this to facilitate domestic covert operations of various sorts. But we have tripped over much evidence companies are created for reasons even more fundamental to the American way. That is to say, a significant part of the US infrastructure is an illusion created to facilitate a variety of treasury dips by the very wealthy. Actually, the mainstream press has already reported on a small part of these thefts and gaffes. See, for example, Matt Taibbi's Rolling Stone reports on the big banks, especially this 2013 report entitled "Everything is Rigged." However, even Taibbi has not yet seen that it is not only via rigging that the rich are becoming richer. It is also via manufacturing fake companies, fake portfolios, and fake projects, by which the Treasury can be milked and bilked of billions of dollars of subsidies, grants, and other monies. So if you thought my mention of intelligence in paragraph 1 was just conspiracy theory, think again. Musk has admitted ties to the CIA through Griffin, if nowhere else. You see, before he was hired to head NASA, Griffin was working with Musk on SpaceX trying to buy old ICBMs from Russia. Again, could you ask for a bigger red flag? Griffin and Musk were in Russia in 2002 trying to buy ICBMs? We are told one of the Russian engineers spat on Musk, which is about the only thing that makes sense on the entire page. They could probably see he was a spook baby. Musk also has some parallels to Yuri Milner, the Russian billionaire who, we are told, is the money for the Fundamental Physics Prize. Like Milner, Musk went to the Wharton School of Business. He also went to the University of Pennsylvania, which has come up in my previous papers. Both Ezra Pound and Noam Chomsky were probably recruited from there. But back to SpaceX. The whole project stinks of a con. We are told, in 2001, Musk conceptualized Mars Oasis, a project to land a miniature experimental greenhouse on Mars containing food crops growing on Martian regolith, in an attempt to regain public interest in space exploration. That idea is ridiculous for so many reasons it is hard to know where to start. Food crops on Mars? Wouldn't the transport cost back to Earth be a little high? Talk about a carbon footprint. Before we start growing food on Mars, shouldn't we hit a few other things first, like, say, getting people there? Who is going to eat that food? I guess they can feed it to the ground squirrels we have seen in NASA's fake pictures from Mars. Except that those ground squirrels are already eating pretty well, it seems, since we have also seen their candy wrappers on the ground. Also, who's going to water those plants on Mars? Maybe this lady. Actually, it wasn't any of the Mars anomaly photos that convinced me the Mars missions were faked. It was watching this NASA press conference for the Curiosity lander. I recommend you watch it without any later commentary added, so that you can be completely objective. Just ask yourself if these guys seem like real scientists. Notice that they are unable to answer any substantive questions from the audience. Only after you have watched these NASA guys should you return to the anomaly photos. Once you do, your mind will be in a more receptive state and you will start to see what is there. Another strange coincidence, if coincidence it was, I ran into some friends at a local pub this evening and they asked me if I wanted to go with them to a movie. I asked what they were going to see and they said The Martian. I immediately got a creeping feeling, as I usually do now when I think of any Hollywood movie, and begged off. When I got home, I looked up the film. Guess what it is about? Top spook baby actor Matt Damon is stranded on Mars. Being a biologist, he is forced to grow his own food in a greenhouse attached to the stranded lander. Curious how this ties into Musk's plan for Mars Oasis, huh? Hollywood is still selling NASA's fictions, almost 50 years later. We are told Musk gave up on the ICBMs, which Russia wanted $8 million apiece for. deciding he could get the materials for only $240,000. Okay, let me see if I understand this. If we are being told the materials to build a rocket large enough to carry an entire greenhouse to Mars will cost only $240,000, in that case, I think we may have been overcharged for the Apollo missions, for which we were billed about $110 billion. I think we may be overcharged now for the fighter bomber jets, which cost up to $2.4 billion apiece. Nevertheless, we are told Musk invested $100 million of his fortune into SpaceX, which brings us to his fortune. At age 24, right out of college, Musk invested $28,000 of his dad's money in a company called Zip2. We are told this company developed an internet city guide for newspapers then going online in 1995. That story is so full of holes it looks like Prairie Dog Town. You can't start a company with $28,000, at least not one that you sell 4 years later for $341 million to Compaq. We are told Zip2 provided online publishing for media companies and had a contract with the New York Times. But the New York Times had been computerized since 1976 and online since 1981. By 1995, it would have already had all the customized portals it needed. Compaq also had no use for the internet city guides and online publishing portals in 1999, so this sale looks manufactured. I am not the only one noticing that. Take the last link to Quora.com and you will see that a lot of people are asking questions about Elon Musk. It looks to me like this Zip2 story is being told to explain the genesis of Musk's fortune. The same can be said for Musk's alleged involvement with PayPal. At age 28, Musk founded another company using $10 million from his $22 million in profit from selling Zip2. This company, X.com, immediately merged with Confinity, which contained PayPal. So Musk had absolutely nothing to do with founding PayPal, and even according to the mainstream story, was only used for his money. He came in on the merger and was only 28, so why would he have been made CEO? No answer. Also no answer to how he was able to leave the merger just 3 years later with $165 million. That's a 3-year return on investment of 1,500%. If PayPal was already so profitable in those early years, enough to buy out Musk to the tune of $165 million, why bring him in the first place? The big early investors like Deutsche Bank and Nokia. Why would Confinity allow Musk to waltz in and soak up a large part of those profits? In other words, with money from a source like Deutsche Bank, why did they need Musk's paltry $10 million? My guess is that all these companies are intelligence fronts, and intelligence just inserted Musk into the story later. Which brings us back to SpaceX. Curious that there is no mention on Musk's Wikipedia page of the explosion of the Falcon 9 in June of this year. Also no mention of it on the SpaceX page. Also curious that the footage from space.com of the SpaceX capsule Dragon docking with the ISS looks so fake. I encourage you to watch it and come to your own conclusions. But to me, it looks like nothing but a series of anomalies. The ISS looks like a plastic model. I'm just surprised they couldn't do a better job faking this. NASA's real budget must have dropped below 6 figures if they can't hire Hollywood people to create something better than this. I honestly don't understand why they spend $108 million on a movie like The Martian, but spend about $10,000 faking this docking sequence with the ISS. I guess they know that millions will pay $10 to be propagandized by Hollywood, but only a handful will watch this free release from NASA. The valuation of SpaceX is also a red flag. According to the mainstream story, Musk invested $100 million. Founders Fund invested another $20 million. The first launch was estimated by Musk to happen in 2003, just 15 months after the company started. but there was still no launch in early 2012, 9 years later. Despite that, the value of the company in early 2012 was said to have ballooned to $1.3 billion. Based on what? After the alleged launch in May of 2012, the company's value ballooned again to $2.4 billion. But SpaceX is a private company, the only profit for which is made in supplying the International Space Station. Why would NASA hire a private company to do that? Surely NASA wouldn't have put the ISS into semi-permanent orbit without a way to supply the astronauts with food, right? Weren't they getting food before 2012? Yes. So why should the government give huge subsidies to a private company to form so that this company could do what NASA was already doing? To see what I mean in more detail, remember that a large part of Musk's alleged fortune comes from SpaceX. According to published numbers, about $2 billion of his wealth comes from SpaceX stock. So basically, NASA has paid Musk that amount to do what it was already doing. This is one great argument against privatizing things and for keeping them as government projects. In public projects, you don't have CEOs and other rich assholes siphoning off a large percentage of the money. In NASA projects, they don't have directors they have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in salaries to. So even if SpaceX is a real project, it isn't clear why space funding has moved from public to private. My assumption is the project is mostly fake, and that answers the question. Space funding has moved to the private sector so that even more money can be sucked from the treasury, with even less real outcome and far less oversight. The con job becomes so much easier once this is privatized. Now let's move on to Tesla Motors. As with PayPal, Musk was not involved in the founding. He also wasn't an engineer or designer. He just came in as a suit with a bag of money. Notice two things about that 2003 photo. 1. Musk is not in the picture. That is Eberhard and Tarpenning. 2. The Tesla Roadster is complete. They are not posing with drawings or schematics, are they? They are posing with a car. And if you don't believe me, ask Martin Eberhard, who sued Musk in 2009. Among other things, Tesla founder Eberhard claims in the suit that, in his zeal to appropriate Eberhard's legacy, Musk has instead sullied Tesla Motors' integrity and blemished Tesla Motors' reputation and prosperity. He also accused Musk of libel, slander, and breach of contract. Although it is claimed Musk countersued, the suit was eventually settled out of court, which of course means Eberhard won. Musk claimed that he would show Eberhard's history of Tesla Motors was false, but he never did that. He only paid to sweep everything under the rug. Wired, which published these lawsuit stories, claimed in their final title that Eberhard said "uncle" in the battle of lawsuits, but that is more misdirection. Their author, Chuck Spaltgre, admits that in the article, it is unlikely Eberhard withdrew the suit out of kindness, and that a settlement has been reached. He also admits that the judge refused to dismiss the suit as requested by Musk's attorney. That indicates that Musk did not actually countersue, and that it was Musk who cried uncle. Since Eberhard then took down his website, we may assume Musk paid him very handsomely to do so. Although Eberhard is now saying there were 5 founders of Tesla before the settlement, he was saying there were only 2, himself and Tarpenning. The logical conclusion is that those behind Musk bought him off. For enough money, he will say whatever they want him to. For me, the picture above says it all. And then there is the problem of the valuation of Tesla Motors. According to mainstream sources, it posted profits for the first time in the first quarter of 2013. So how did Musk pull in a 2012 salary of $78.2 million? He is said to be the highest paid CEO in the world for that year, a year in which his company was not profitable? How does that work? As usual, none of this makes any sense. It also makes no sense for Tesla Motors in 2014 to open up all its technology patents, basically giving away everything it knows to its competition for free. We are told this is to speed up worldwide development of electric cars, but once again, it isn't believable. The board of directors of a real company would have fired Musk in a split second for something like that. It now looks to me like Musk was probably inserted into Tesla Motors expressly to destroy it. Big Oil may have inserted Musk into Tesla in order to eviscerate the competition from the inside out. I wonder if Eberhard ever considered that possibility. He appears to have considered that possibility, since remember he said that Musk had sullied Tesla Motors' integrity and blemished Tesla Motors' reputation and prosperity. But what if Musk didn't just accidentally sully Tesla's prosperity? Again, none of it looks like an accident to me. That possibility is greatly increased by further research. Top Gear in the UK and the New York Times both published or aired very damaging accounts of the Tesla cars, showing they had a range of only 55 miles, a range diminished even further by cold weather. Given that both Top Gear and the New York Times also have intelligence ties, intelligence runs the media in both the US and UK, you should ask yourself why one intelligence front should be attacking another. If intelligence genuinely wished to push electric cars via their man Musk, why would they allow these programs to air or publish? The answer is, these programs were intended to damage Tesla Motors. It looks to me like Tesla was infiltrated. I give it 2 more years tops. Finally, we find that Musk gave $10 million this year to the Future of Life Institute. This is curious since although Musk has said he considers artificial intelligence to be the greatest danger to the future, and although Future of Life also claims this is one of the greatest dangers, the institute was actually founded and is advised by a group of techno-fascists, including Stephen Hawking, Max Tegmark, John Talem, Anthony Aquar, George Church, Frank Welzelk, and Stuart Russell. I will comment on most of them below. Like Musk, they are all promoting a matrix future while pretending to be concerned about it. I have covered Hawking in previous papers. Max Tegmark has promoted the idea that everything that exists mathematically also exists physically, which is among the stupidest ideas ever put on paper. I have uncovered giant piles of fudged mainstream equations in my papers on my science site. And if Tegmark's thesis were true, it would mean all the bad equations existed equally with the good equations. Of course, new physicists and mathematicians want you to believe this, since if it were true, it would give you no way to disprove their bad equations and bad ideas. The natural spin-off of Tegmark's thesis is that every bad physical idea a lousy physicist can propose also exists physically. And the next step is to propose that every such physicist who comes up with an equation, good or bad, deserves the title of God, since he just created a real physical thing and a Nobel Prize. Jan Tallon has a BSc in physics, his thesis having been on interstellar travel using warps in space-time, which means they are now giving degrees in physics for science fiction. We have no evidence of warps in space-time, and the Einstein equations used to predict them are flawed, as I have proved. Tallon is also involved in the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, which takes us a step closer to figuring out what is going on here. It is very like the Future of Life Institute, composed of the same people, but a bit easier to unravel. Ray Kurzweil was a director of MIRI from 2007 to 2010. And he is a notorious transhumanist and futurist. Although he created some useful devices when he was younger, he later either went off the deep end or was hired by intelligence to seem to do so. He began writing books about AI like The Singularity is Near, which promotes ideas like this. Kurzweil predicts the technological advances will irreversibly transform people as they augment their minds and bodies with genetic alterations, nanotechnology, and artificial intelligence. Once the singularity has been reached, Kurzweil says that machine intelligence will be infinitely more powerful than all human intelligence combined. Afterwards, he predicts intelligence will radiate outward from the planet until it saturates the universe. Doesn't sound like someone who is too concerned about the dangers of artificial intelligence, does it? Which confirms what I said about Musk. Musk and all these other guys aren't concerned about AI. They are only concerned with hooking you up to the machines as fast as possible, so you will no longer be a worry to them. If I were hooked up to the proper machines, I wouldn't be writing this, would I? Frank Wilczek is one of the top fake physicists in the world, along with Hawking, Susskind, and a few dozen others. I have mentioned him before in my papers, notably in my paper Destroying Asymptotic Freedom. Wilczek got his Nobel Prize for asymptotic freedom, but since my nuclear diagrams utterly destroy the strong force, and since asymptotic freedom concerns the strong force, he doesn't impress me too much. I can see right through him. To help you see through him, notice he appeared on Penn & Teller's bullshit. I have outed Penn Juliet as a probable agent, so Wilczek is just hanging with fellow agents. For someone with such a long career, Wilczek has done precious little real physics, or none, actually. He is also known for his ideas on axions, but I have already destroyed those as well. There are no axions, and the theory was never even interesting. Given my work on charged photons, the theory of axions now just looks pathetic. Wilczek's being involved with these creeps in transhumanism and AI only confirms my opinion of him as a total towering phony. One probably created, like Musk, from whole cloth by intelligence. George Church is another spook scientist involved in synthetic biology. Beyond the expected red flags, we find a curious cross-pollinating red flag, by which Church is said to have invented a use for DNA to detect dark matters, WIMPs. Since I have proved dark matter is just charge, there are no WIMPs. And since you cannot use DNA to detect something that doesn't exist, this claim about Church does not impress me. Just the reverse. He has worked on cloning a mammoth, going so far as to insert genes into living elephants. He has said the same could be done with a Neanderthal, although he claims he isn't working on it. Given what we know of past government programs, the assurance doesn't reassure me much. Church is a big pusher of open consent, which is the opposite of genetic privacy. Basically, it means he thinks the government should be able to do anything they want with genes, including your genes, without your consent. Lovely, right? Church, like the rest of these Frankensteins, has been on TED several times, which is another big red flag. Bill Gates is another of these manufactured billionaire spooks, and he pretty much completes the circle here. Addendum, February 19th, 2018. I can't believe the whole SpaceX story still has legs. Are people really buying the Falcon Heavy launch and the red car in space? I don't think they are. But since the media just reports what it wants to report, everyone thinks their neighbors are buying this. Talk to your neighbors. They aren't buying this any more than you are. Everyone can see this is a fraud. It isn't even as believable as the new Star Wars movies. If you can't see that, here are some hints for you. Look closely at the people narrating the event who claim to be engineers. That was my first big laugh. Do those people look like engineers to you? No, they are actors reading from a teleprompter. Next, notice the constant cheering, which is obviously pre-recorded in a studio. Why would these bozos be cheering for an hour non-stop? Then watch when they pan across the people cheering. Do they look like scientists or engineers? No, it looks like SpaceX only hires people off Malibu Beach in the half-pipe. Then watch as the rockets come back down and land. Rockets don't land like that. You can't reverse a takeoff like that. Those are films run in reverse and synced. But the reason I am attaching this addendum is that the media is reporting some people are crying foul on SpaceX, but it pretends everyone who thinks this is fake is a flat earther. I told you a couple of years ago when this flat earth stuff began to be promoted heavily at YouTube and online that this was why. The mainstream creates its own lunatic fringe opposition so that when you disagree with them, they can lump you in with the lunatic fringe. Oh, everyone who thinks SpaceX is fake is a flat earther. No, I think SpaceX is fake and I am not a flat earther. So try again. But they can't try again because they have nothing else. They have no rebuttal. The only thing they have is a knee-jerk dismissal based on a flat earth theory their own people created. So once you get past that, it is silence. You will tell me there are some people on YouTube saying this is fake and then promoting flat earth. Yes, of course they are, because that is part of the project. They want you to think there is some connection between flat earth and criticizing NASA or SpaceX. There isn't. That connection has been manufactured. Just as there are no serial killers and no real communists, there are no real flat earthers. Every single one of them is an agent in disguise pretending to be a flat earther. Even before Flat Earth began being promoted and before SpaceX came out, I told you this is how they do it. I was telling my readers the Flat Earth Society was a NASA front a decade ago. Back then it was used to protect NASA from criticism, but now it is used to protect SpaceX. That way, they don't have to respond to the actual content of your criticism. They can just dismiss you as a flat earther or other wignut. This is the way it is done. I have been the premier naysayer in many fields for many years, so I know this firsthand. Not once have these people addressed the content of my papers. They are not paid to address the content in a scientific manner and couldn't do so if they were. They are paid to misdirect, talking about anything but the facts at hand. If the subject is photons, for instance, on my science site, they immediately misdirect the discussion into flat earth, or my hair, or ballet, or some joke I made about Jim Fetzer, or how I once misspelled a word. It is called sophistry. It is also called pettifogging. It is also called being paid liars and spinners, and the mainstream has an infinite well of those. What I encourage you to do is make a list of all the places promoting SpaceX or calling people who think SpaceX is fake flat earthers, and then boycott them. Even better, contact them and tell them you can see through them like thinnest glass. Start with iflscience.com, which ranks #1 on a search on this topic, and then work your way down. Oh, and tell them I sent you. And that is the end of the article. Well, I would agree with him about the flat earthers being created to... that's how intelligence works. They create all sides of the argument. That's why you have Democrat versus Republican, and then you have like the fringe of the what you would call a fringe, I guess, is libertarian. They're the crazy militia guys who live in the woods and they just want, you know, crazy stuff to go down. Or they're the anarchists. And I would disagree with him a little bit about some of the flat earthers out there, because there are some people that have brought up some interesting points. And this is where I kind of just stop my flat earth debate. Is there were two really good points that were made that I saw. One was from Owen Benjamin when he talked about lighthouses. I can't remember which video. I jumped through certain videos, so I'm not sure exactly which one. But he was talking about lighthouses and the fact that they can be seen from, you know, all lighthouses are listed as visibility. How far out can you see this lighthouse? So if you take the height of the lighthouse and then the visibility, but if you also plug into that the curve of the Earth, it makes no sense, because eventually you would not be able to see the lighthouse at a certain distance because of the curve of the Earth. You just wouldn't be able to see it. But the equation for the tilt of the Earth, or the curve of the Earth, is either wrong or is just flat out not true, because it's impossible to see a lighthouse from the distance stated. Also, there's another very interesting shot that I saw of an infrared camera that was taking a picture of a mountain, or I think it was a mountain range, And that mountain range would have been at a certain distance. I can't remember the distance. I'll try to find it and put it on the screen.
The long-distance infrared photography that exposes the globe lie. Now, this is Mount St. Jacinto, shot from a peninsula, I guess, in California, 123 miles away, this Mount St. Jacinto. By J. Tolan Media 1 on YouTube. You guys want to go and check that out, because with the infrared photography, he can see farther with the infrared photography than we can see with our naked eye, and he's able to zoom in and demonstrably show that the fall off we should be seeing in the spherical model should eat up half of that mountain.
Then you get the image here that he's showing you, where he clearly shows the mathematics involved and shows you see that bottom yellow line? That's where the peak should be, behind the curve, just as Google showed it. The problem is, it's not reality. And I don't know what to tell you guys. Again, you can believe that all the things that you've been taught are true, and that mountains appear from behind curves and all that, or you can believe your eyes.
But we can still see it from base to tip, which does not make sense. So that is a head scratcher. Let me ask you guys this. Why would they be doing this? Why would they want to deceive us about the thing upon which we live? Is it because if it is what is described in the Bible and what Werner von Braun put on his tombstone, if it's that, it actually supports the idea of creation. It supports the idea of a loving God who created us and the heavens and the earth. Is that why they would be deceiving us? Who wants to take this? Why would they be doing this?
But the distance that is shown, that the picture was taken at, is impossible, because you would not be able to see, like they measured the base. From the base, you would not have been able to see the base of the mountain at that distance. You may have been able to see the middle or the top, but the infrared camera shows at a certain distance that you can see the bottom, and you would not be able to see that if the Earth was, well, if the Earth was, I don't know how to put this. If the equation for the size of the Earth that is taught in the mainstream and the curve of that equation, it's just not possible. So either these people are lying about taking these pictures, or the measurements for seeing lighthouses is completely wrong, or there is something going on here. That's all I have to say about it. I don't know. I've never been to space. I don't have instruments that can measure this kind of stuff, but I just stick to the curve measurement. Are these pictures real? If they are, then the curve measurement is just not correct. So is there a new measurement? Did they screw that up? Is the size of the Earth different? I don't know. All I can say is that it is impossible to see a lighthouse, and it is impossible to take these certain pictures with the equation of the curve of the Earth. But let's get back to Elon Musk, because I've been seeing headlines for the past, it's got to be at least a year now, where I can't believe that Tesla has not collapsed. And it's a joke. I mean, when I just saw a headline today of 11 executives that are just running out the door. And they've been losing all sorts of people throughout the last 12 months. And that company is going down in flames. Now, I don't know if this was all planned to happen, like what Miles is saying in this paper. Like, it's possible that Musk was sent into the company to destroy it because they don't want electric cars out in the market. But I find this a little bit confusing, because Hollywood is pushing Tesla like nobody's business. They are pushing it, like whenever you watch that show Silicon Valley, they're always talking about Teslas. The guy buys a Tesla. Whenever you see certain shows and stuff, they're always pushing Tesla, 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 Tesla. So either they took over that company to just control it, or they actually took it over to destroy it. And I don't know why they're promoting it in other Hollywood stuff, but it seems to me like not only is Tesla going down in flames, but their product is complete crap. Look up headlines of Tesla cars that are just bursting into flames. They are spontaneously combusting in parking garages. The auto drive. See, here's my theory on what Tesla's doing with their. I don't think it's so much about the electric capability. I think it's a little bit more about the auto drive functionality. is being able to program your car to take you places, because the future of that is going to spin way out of control. I saw a movie called Upgraded, and it's very transhumanist. They put a chip into the back of this guy's neck who's paralyzed, and then all of a sudden he's got all, super reflexes and all the lines of Tesla cars that have either hit pedestrians or gotten in a car wreck because they were on autopilot, and the thing sucks. So that's just my take on it. I'm going to do his paper on Mark Zuckerberg as well, so be on the lookout for that video. I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.
Just let me out.